My wife says that she, when she was a teenager in New Zealand, was a very decent, kind, not a menace. I spoke to her mother, said not true.
Oh, wow.
She was an awful teenager. She was a horror. Born in 1960 in Johannesburg to one of the wealthiest families. My grandfather founded Anglo-Val with his best buddy, Slip Menel. Two families from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. It was one of the biggest mining industrial companies in South Africa. You know, owned Baker's Biscuits, Five Roses, I&J, Consul Glass. And I was in the absolute fast track, corporate, international. I was meeting everyone, the most powerful people. I was working on the most exciting projects. And I looked at South Africa and said, it doesn't stand a chance. So I don't have watches, jewelry. I don't collect things.
Okay.
But the only possession that I kind of like is my FJ Cruiser, which is pimped up. Got the big tires, and the lights and everything.
Cool.
And for me to do a 3-hour drive on my own with no music, no phone calls is just paradise. America's getting stronger and stronger. The strongest country in the world, militarily, technologically, culturally, everything. And it's getting stronger.
Because of Trump, you think?
Because of AI. Thank America that we're not speaking German. And we should thank Israel every day because they are the front line for Judeo-Christian civilization. Every day we should thank Israel. The more you stare into the abyss, the more the abyss stares into you. And it affects me. You know, I'm reading these political reports. Every day there's more and more ANC stealing and thieving and corruption and it just wears you down. Can't not take it into your heart. And I think my job is done because more and more extraordinary people, you and others, are standing up and telling it like it is. Do public-private partnership or privatize all the state-owned enterprise immediately. I'd have a Doge team, and I would have the Doge team responsible for South Africa is uninvestable under the ANC. It's fixable, but will never be fixed under the ANC. And anyone still voting for the ANC is a moron. Stand up and tell the truth.
Rob Hersov, welcome to the In HeinzSight BoldCast. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Heinz. What a great pleasure. Sorry it's a little bit late.
No, hey, you're here, and that's what counts. So luckily you're currently in Cape Town, but you have been doing quite a bit of traveling, but you're back for a while, I'm assuming, and then you're shooting off somewhere. I'm guessing as well. So
I used to travel a huge amount when I lived in America, when I lived in Europe, when I lived in the UK. I traveled every week somewhere.
Yeah,
and when I moved back to South Africa, to Cape Town in early 2017, I actually realized how tired I was of traveling. And I love being here, and I love not traveling.
Yeah.
So this 3-week road trip, and it really was a big podcast road trip, was, on the one hand, exciting and inspirational, and on the other hand, reminded me that I like being at home.
Of course.
And I don't like traveling as much as I used to. So,
do you think it has to do with getting a bit older and wanting to settle a bit more? Yeah,
it is. And also I found paradise, which is Cape Town.
Of course.
The Cape is paradise.
Beautiful.
There's nowhere like it in the world. Nowhere like it
exactly.
in the world.
Yeah.
And, I'm really deeply engaging with my wife and my 2 younger children.
Awesome.
And I'm enjoying it.
Lovely. So on that note, you are married, you've got a beautiful wife and children staying here. You also have some family in the United States, if I'm correct. How old are your oldest children now?
So I have a 28-year-old son.
Okay.
Who, and a 25-year-old son. The 28-year-old son was based in America.
All right.
And he's just moved 10 days ago to Auckland, New Zealand.
Wow, that's quite a move.
A very big investment in paddle tennis in New Zealand. And I've told him he's got to go there for
He's helping you with that.
Well, he's got to go there for the year, finish the fundraising, open more courts, open more clubs. He knows the business very well. He's a very good paddle player. Thrashes me now.
Oh, cool.
So he's gone down there for this year to get that business rocking and rolling.
What is your paddle business called?
Africa Paddle here in South Africa. And Pacific Paddle in New Zealand.
Because there's courts going up everywhere now, it
South
seems.
Africa's overbuilt.
It's booming.
In 4 years, South Africa's gone from 0 to 800 courts.
My goodness.
They're not too many. So for anyone of your viewers thinking of getting into the paddle tennis business, don't.
You missed it. You missed it. Okay, all right. Yes, you have to be quick on these things, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
This country's filled with extraordinary entrepreneurs.
That's true.
That's a great positive.
Yeah.
People see an opportunity, they move quickly.
They jump. Yeah, that's true.
And they do a good job. I went to a paddle tennis court in Palm Beach in Florida. And this Texan friend of mine, whose son built it, said, "This is by far the best paddle club in the world."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, I'd like to see it." It's not even a scratch on what we've built in South Africa. Not
Seriously?
just us, but some of our competitors.
Okay.
And I said to him, "His name is Robert Hersov," I said, "I'm sorry to disappoint you. This is no touch on what you can see in South Africa.
Come on.
It's nice, but not great."
That's cool.
Yeah.
But don't they play pickleball more than paddle?
Pickles
that
swept,
seems to
swept
be
America.
Yeah, that seems like just a small tennis court. Whereas
like
paddle is like squash with it's fun. It's a lot
Pickles for old people.
Yeah.
Paddle, no, seriously, paddle's a proper sport, and paddle is going to sweep America.
Yeah.
So for any of your viewers in America, South Africans,
Yeah.
get into the paddle
Jump
business,
on that one.
because I think there are probably 1,000 courts in America now. They're going to be 25,000.
Okay.
It's a no-brainer.
But the fact that you are building in New Zealand, sent your son there, that must mean there's still an opportunity.
Yeah. So New Zealand has probably 17 courts at the moment.
Okay.
4 of them are mine. And it's going to go to easily 500 courts.
All right.
And we've got the 4 best locations in Auckland and the best location in Christchurch.
Oh, wow.
Boom.
Amazing.
So get in early, get the right locations.
And your children that are here
then I've
with
got
you
a
in Cape Town?
25-year-old in London.
Yeah.
And he's in the tech business.
Okay.
And then I've got a 13-year-old daughter here and a 10-year-old son
Amazing.
in Cape Town. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
13-year-old daughter. How's that going? Is it a typical
She's
teenage thing, or is she doing
not
well?
yet.
Okay.
Getting there.
All right.
It's funny because my wife says that she, when she was a teenager in New Zealand, was a very decent, kind, not a menace. I spoke to her mother, said not true.
Oh, wow.
She was an awful teenager. She was a horror.
There you go. Yeah, it comes out later in life.
Do you have children?
I have 4. I have 3 boys and a little girl.
Oh, I have 3 boys and a girl.
Yeah, my oldest son is now 15. He's in Paulus, and then I've got 2 other boys, and then I have almost like a lot Lamiki, my little girl. She's 5 now. So
Yeah, I thought of sending my son instead of bishops to Paul Roos.
Okay.
Yeah, but I haven't managed to persuade my wife.
Yeah, it's different cultures in a way, but both great schools. So depends on
listen, I like the Afrikaans culture very much.
It's very strong.
I think it's very strong. It's core to this country. It's the DNA of this country.
Yeah.
And I respect it. So
it's typically conservative overall. I mean, I remember coming from a more Afrikaans background and going to university, where suddenly you are exposed to everyone from around the country, and there was a stark difference between the young kids who came from English backgrounds and Afrikaans backgrounds. We had very interesting conversations. My eyes were like this big most of the time.
The first time I actually was engaged with Afrikaners was in the army.
Okay,
so
makes sense.
Less so at UCT in the 1970s.
All right.
And early 1980s.
Yeah.
Very much so. And I got to I made some very, very close Afrikaans friends.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What kind of background did you grow up in, if I may ask?
So I was born in 1960 in Johannesburg to one of the wealthiest families. My grandfather founded Anglo-Val.
Yes.
With his best buddy, Slip Metal.
Okay.
2 families. And, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it was one of the biggest mining industrial companies in South Africa.
Wow.
We owned Baker's Biscuits, Five Roses, I&J, Consul Glass.
My goodness, that's a lot of companies.
And Anglo-Val Mining, which is now African Rainbow Minerals, Patrice Motsepe's mining business. So I grew up in wealth, privilege, opportunity, and somebody had to be.
Yeah.
You don't get mad. It was me.
Yeah.
I'm the lucky guy.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You didn't plan that. That's just how it worked out.
I didn't plan that. I was that guy. But I think I've made the most of every opportunity.
Yes.
I've been given an extraordinary education, access to, extraordinary people, travel, and, I have worked hard, and I read, and I study, and I...
Always growing now.
Yeah. So I could have sat back and done very little, like a lot of my peers.
Yeah, be like a trust fund kid,
I
like
shouldn't
they
be
say.
doing this, by the way.
No, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that you are here, and those of us who are grateful for what you do are very, very thankful.
But maybe the most defining feature of my life is that, other than this public speaking, which we'll get onto, is that I spent 31 years overseas. So I left in 1985 after doing military service to see the world.
Okay.
I didn't go to run away. I didn't go never to come back. I went to see the world. And then things happened, and it was exciting. And I lived in New York, Boston, Europe, Britain. I worked for big corporates. I founded companies.
You did an MBA at Harvard, right?
I went to Harvard Business School. Yeah.
That must have been amazing.
Yeah, I was the only South African there in my year. And
My goodness.
I was there from 87 to 89. And if you think of South Africa, what it was going through there,
Yeah. Yo, did you get a lot of flack for being South African?
not one
Oh, wow.
African-American spoke to me my time at Harvard Business School. Because in my Facebook,
Oh, they thought you...
which was a paper book,
Yeah.
it said 2 years, investment banker, New York, Harvard, Goldman Sachs, 2 years, infantry officer, South African Defense Force. And they just put a line through me, turned their backs on me, refused to speak to me.
Yeah, because you must be a racist if you're from South Africa.
They didn't even ask me, what's it all about?
Yeah.
But it was funny, at my 20th reunion, Katie and I went to my 20th reunion, and these guys all come up, Rob, good to see you, buddy. And I said, you didn't say a word to me in my 2 years there.
Amazing.
But it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Water under the bridge.
It's crazy when the reputation of a country, is put on you as an individual.
I would have loved to have had that debate and discussion, but South Africa was not going through a great time then.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it wasn't easy to explain what was happening, to defend what was happening, if I could, and to justify any of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't all bad. It certainly wasn't all good.
Yeah.
But nobody was prepared to listen.
No.
Certainly not the African Americans.
What was your perspective at that stage as a young guy, just getting into the world, starting working and doing all these exciting things? What was your perspective on South Africa, and what was the exposure to the rest of the world doing to your view of things?
So I was on the fast track. I got a job at Goldman Sachs, the best investment bank in the world, on Wall Street.
Wow.
Then I went to Harvard Business School. Then Rupert Murdoch hired me as his right-hand man. I was in the absolute fast track. Corporate, international, I was meeting everyone, the most powerful people. I was working on the most exciting projects. And I looked at South Africa and said, it doesn't stand a chance.
Wow.
That was in 1989.
Interesting.
1990, I was saying, it doesn't stand a chance. Then Mandela got released. Then, we had democracy or
so-called
the end of white minority rule, so-called. And here we are today, and I'm in the same mood. South Africa doesn't stand a chance.
Wow.
31 years later.
Amazing.
We've survived 31 years, but it's not South Africa's not in good shape right now.
So for all intents and purposes, you're a businessman. I'm
a businessman.
You've built businesses. You've started businesses. How many are you currently running? How many are you actively involved with yourself?
So I've got interests in about 20 businesses.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, like investments and things.
Yes.
I kind of watch that as a portfolio. Half of them are dead on their feet. The other half will, harvest at some point.
Okay.
But I'm not on the board of any of them.
All right.
And I just, I read the monthly reports and spin a coin in the air. Maybe they work, maybe they don't.
Okay.
But actively, I'm active on probably 5 very big projects.
Okay.
Very big. Obviously, I'm a minority shareholder in the airport being developed, Cape Town second.
Yeah, I heard about the
But I'm not
Visante
active
Kraal
there.
project.
I'm not active there.
If I may ask, what's the reason for that development of a new airport?
Cape Town's the only major city in the world that doesn't have a second airport. Why does that matter? Because every plane that takes off anywhere in the world, no matter how big, files a flight plan. And in the flight plan are how many passengers, how much fuel you got, and your diversionary airport. And you have to put a diversionary airport in your flight plan and have enough fuel to fly there if there's a problem.
That's interesting.
Every plane that flies to Cape Town locally has to carry enough fuel to fly to George, Bloem or Uppington.
Yeah, an hour away. Yeah.
And every international flight has to carry 2 hours of extra fuel
to get to Joburg.
Every single flight to get to Joburg or Durban.
Wow.
So by building the airport where we're building it, we save every airline 2 hours fuel. And it's a massive saving.
That is.
On every single flight.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So
my
where did you
partner, Nick Ferguson, has negotiated with all the major international airlines that we keep half the saving on every single flight. It could well be the most profitable airport in the world before it opens.
That's amazing. That's so clever. Wow.
So that's a massive project, but I'm not involved. I'm not even on the board.
Okay. How did you, or if I might ask, how did they find a piece of land long enough?
It was there already.
For planes to land?
It was there already.
Oh.
It was the first airport in Cape Town. It was before Cape Town International. So the British built it in 1942-43.
All right.
4 runways. And it's in the best location. It's a better location than Cape Town International. We
Very
don't get fog.
interesting.
Cape Town International gets fog 7-8 days a
That's true.
year.
I've seen it myself.
For Santigral, Cape Heinz Airport doesn't get fog. It's a much better location, and we've got 900 hectares, massive, much bigger than Cape Town International.
Wow.
So it's a huge project, huge. But I'm fortunately, I have a partner who's super smart, super hardworking.
Doing it.
And I'm not even on the board.
What are you actively involved with then from a business point of view? What are your projects that you're...
I've got a huge piece of land on the west coast.
Okay.
Between Saldanha and Paternoster.
Oh, wow.
Huge. And we're going to do something special there.
Develop something.
Not a normal kind of Yuckles by, Yellow's by, kind of 140 square meter white houses with boom, 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 boom. The West Coast looks the same all the way up.
Yeah.
This is going to be
it's not going to be Mykonos on the West Coast.
It's not going to be Mykonos, exactly. This is going to be beautiful, architectural, and high-end. The first high-end development on the West Coast.
All right. Do you personally have a love for the West Coast?
I do.
All right.
And because we've had a house in Hermanus for almost 100 years, our family.
What?
It's the old, biggest original. It's the last remaining big
property. I love Hermanus. It's so beautiful.
But, the whole East Coast is, it's busy and built up.
It's very commercialized.
And big houses. The West Coast is beautiful.
Yeah. It's a different kind of beauty.
I have a special, and I only discovered it in the last 5 years. The Cedarburg, the West Coast.
Cedarburg is beautiful.
I mean, magical. I love the Karoo.
Yeah.
The Tankwa Desert.
Okay.
And the West Coast. I love that kind of wild.
I've only heard about Tankwa in the last 3 years myself, and heard that it's just
You haven't been to Africa Burn?
No. I saw you were there recently.
We go every year.
Okay. I've never been. I've never been to Tankwa. My parents go there. They enjoy it now, as in their later life, they love to go there.
I never used to do like long drives. I was too hyper, working hard. Now that I'm in a different phase of my life, there's nothing more than getting in my FJ Cruiser, which is I'm a minimalist, so I don't have watches, jewelry, I don't collect things.
Okay.
But the only possession that I kind of like is my FJ Cruiser.
All right.
Which is pimped up.
It's got everything.
I've got the big tires, and the lights and everything.
Cool.
And for me to do a 3-hour drive on my own with no music, no phone calls, is just paradise.
It's like you're...
Even driving here this morning, just looking at the beautiful sun and the clouds, and I don't have any music on, no phone calls, peace.
That's your therapy.
It's my mindfulness, my meditation.
That's good. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. So you are, for all intents and purposes, you have a similar story to other very wealthy people we know about that decided, listen, I can stay in my wealthy life and just go about my things, but I'm seeing stuff that's not right, and someone needs to do something. Because to someone like me, you seem to have popped out of nowhere or out of obscurity, and you started speaking up. What motivated you to come out of your lifestyle and to, because I'm sure you're getting attacked a lot for what you're saying.
A lot.
What motivated you to start in the first place and get to where you are now?
So I was always good at public speaking, presenting.
Okay.
People would always say, Rob, why don't you do the thank you at the dinner? All my life I've been the guy that was happy to stand up and speak, and I'm comfortable and I enjoy it.
If I may stop you there, is that part of being good at sales? Are you good at selling ideas, projects?
Yes. Yeah. I love sales.
Okay.
And when I meet people, funnily enough, when I meet people in an interview and they're telling me they want to be in finance or technology, and I have a look and say, you should be in sales.
Oh. You can see the gift.
And they look at, but they see it as a kind of negative.
Okay.
People think of salesmen, but the greatest leaders in the world are salesmen. The greatest chief executives are salesmen. And selling means you have to believe in it, understand it, and be enthusiastic about it.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be a product or a service. It can be a concept or or anything. And I love it. If I get excited about it, I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to stand up. You can say to me, I've got 100,000 people in a stadium, come speak to them right now. I go, what about? Say anything you want. Or give me a topic. I'll do it.
That's good.
And if you ask people the surveys have been done, people's greatest fears. Dying is number 1. Public speaking is number 2.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Dying's 20%, public speaking 17%.
Very interesting.
And The Economist did an article a month ago, it just said, if you're good at it, you have the greatest skill on the planet. And I agree with that.
Yeah. It's communication.
And AI, okay? So a lot of podcasters these days are using AI. You take an article, research report, you take anything, put it to AI and say, make me a 3-minute podcast. Bang, comes out. Read it. Bang, you sound erudite, intelligent, articulate. But to be interviewed, there's no
that's a skill.
tech support.
Yeah.
You've got to be on your feet, or to stand up and make a speech, prepared or unprepared. But there's a level above. You ready? The level above, the hardest thing of all, is stand-up comedy.
Absolutely.
Because you make people laugh, or you don't.
Oh, you don't. You either fall flat on your face or it works. Anyway, so you've got the skill, you've been honing it, and now you decided, listen.
I didn't decide. It happened by accident.
Oh, okay.
So Alec Hogg invited me to a business conference in the Drakensberg.
Okay.
And I was the first speaker in the morning on the second day.
All right.
And on the first day, we'd had Musi Maimane talking about what a bad situation South Africa was in. And we had incredible Michael House old boy. I went to Michael House called Jason McCormick.
Okay.
And the McCormicks own shopping malls in poorer areas on the edge of, homeless or, townships or whatever, or inside townships. And they had been attacked in the Durban riots.
Oh, wow.
The KZN riots.
That was rough.
4 or 5 of their shopping malls had been burnt to the ground. And he went through this incredible presentation that basically tracked for 4 days, leading up to the riots, through the riots, and surviving the riots. And he tracked how many WhatsApp messages he got from his management team. Initially, it was 10 a day. Then it was 10 an hour. Then it was 10 a minute. And he said, I wish I'd done military service like Rob, but I had to become a general understanding military in 4 days.
Yeah.
And I woke up that morning. I was going to make my speech about the investability of South Africa. And I don't prepare a piece of paper, but I think things through. And the key is how I start and how I finish.
Yeah.
I kind of know what I'm going to say in between.
Okay.
It just comes. I'm in the zone. And as I walked into the room, 2 guys separately, Andrew Jarvie and Warren Wheatley, said, come on, Rob, give it hell, And I stood up there, and my first sentence went something like this. South Africa is uninvestable under the ANC. It's fixable, but will never be fixed under the ANC. And anyone still voting for the ANC is a moron.
Wow.
That was pretty
Your
much,
opening statement.
Pretty much. Anyway, I did my 20-minute speech, 20-minute Q&A, and I stood down. And in those days, Business News would take 10 days or whatever to release the speeches.
Yeah.
And when I got home to Cape Town, I thought, maybe I was a bit. I don't really remember what I've said. Even now, I'll forget. I'll ask you for the link and then quickly listen to say who have I pissed off. And I got back to Cape Town. I thought, wow, that was a bit radical. I was a bit, I hope this doesn't, it was only 100 people in the room, 50 and 50 because of COVID.
But it was recorded.
And it was recorded. Then Moosey's came out, someone else came out, Jason's came out, and I was like, okay, maybe Alec's not going to release mine. And all of a sudden, I think it was a Sunday, my phone rung off the hook.
Blew up.
And it was people angry at me, praising me, and my life changed forever.
Wow.
And then,
one speech. Okay.
One speech.
Wow.
It went absolutely viral.
Yeah.
And then people started calling me a racist.
Of course.
Easiest way to nail a white guy, call him a racist. But Gayton McKenzie, Musi Maimane, Enoch Godogwana, finance minister, came out publicly and said, you may not like him, you may not like what he says, but he's not a racist.
Yeah.
And once you survive...
Because they know you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such an easy... the leftists throw all these Nazi, racist, genocide comments around, but they've... Anyway, I survived that, and 2 things happened. Franz Cronje called me, and he said, Rob, you're probably going through hell.
Yeah.
You'll come out the other side, and watch what happens. He said, the ANC will reach out to you.
Okay.
It's the Soviet playbook. Neutralize your enemy.
Yeah.
Sure enough, Fikile Mbalula calls me, Rob, I hear you have some grievances. And the second thing was my father and my wife said the similar things to me. My father said, Rob, I've never been more proud of you for doing and saying what other people can't afford to do and say.
That's amazing.
And that gave me the spine to keep going.
Wow.
And after a while, of saying things, you realize you can actually up the game a bit, up the game a bit, up the game a bit.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm saying what is true and what is everyone saying around the briar. That the ANC have had 31 years but have destroyed the country. They're a racist, socialist, anti-Semitic, anti-American bunch of kleptocrats and ineptocrats. That's 6 things. They are a disaster for this country. Disaster. And I'm telling it like it is. I'm using the word spineless Cyril. The voters are morons. Madiba would vote for the DA if he was alive. And people they get angry at me.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of South Africans come up to me on the street, black, white, colored, Indian, of
Say
all
thank
shapes,
you. Yeah.
say thank you for giving us a voice.
That's
And
true.
That boldness, whatever it is, courage, stupidity, naivety, kamikaze, I don't know, whatever it is, people say, why are you doing it? And I've told you why, because my father basically said, you're giving people a voice. And my wife said, this country is magnificent. It's worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
What's the end game? Well, the end game's close. I'm close to saying I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay.
Because it now needs, and this is why your show is so important. So important. Boldness is contagious.
Yeah.
That says it all.
Yeah.
The end game is that more and more people start having the courage, the boldness to say the same thing.
Absolutely.
And I want to be at a point where, having been the dam buster, was aviation, the dam busters, remember the bouncing bomb?
Yeah.
Having been the original dam buster, the other bombers are coming in to hit the dam, open it, and break it.
Yeah, you're a pioneer. And I think it's necessary.
You know the one positive about this country?
Yes?
We have free speech.
Supposedly, yeah.
No, we do. What
Yeah.
I've been saying
Yeah.
endlessly.
You haven't been locked up yet.
No, I haven't, the ANC
No.
are angry and mad, but, as long as I don't specifically point out who's stealing the money and where,
Okay.
like Andre de Ruyter did, they kind of just don't like me and leave me alone.
All right.
Or they say, and the deputy finance minister, ANC guy, Communist Party, David, you know who you are, he and I called each other on a business issue, and I said, are you sure you want to talk to the demon? Me, the demon? And he said, no, Rob, you're a patriot.
Okay.
And so for the ANC, Communist Party people, to say that about me,
Yeah.
respect to them.
Yeah.
They don't like what I'm saying, but they probably know it's true, that they're all stealing the country blind. They know it's true.
What do you think is the end game for the ANC? Do you think it's
They'll disappear.
with their money, you mean?
Prince Mashele.
Yeah.
We need to get Prince Mashele on this show.
Okay.
I've never listened to a podcast, hour and a half, where I've agreed with every single thing someone said.
Okay.
And this guy, Prince Mashele, has nailed it. He's, put him together with Frans Cronje, R.W. Johnson, and Prince Mashele. You've got the 3 smartest political analysts in this country.
Okay.
And he said by 2029, the ANC is going to be irrelevant.
Wow.
So they're going to get slaughtered in the municipal elections.
It looks like it's already started to happen.
Yeah. They're getting beaten by the DA. They're getting beaten by MK. Not good. They're getting beaten by the Patriotic Alliance.
PA is growing.
PA.
Whoa. They are doing well.
Yeah.
I think they're good at the groundwork, it seems.
They're good at the groundwork. And they've got some great MPs.
Yeah.
Have you seen this MP, Liam?
Mm-mm.
Oh, my goodness. You must get him on your show.
Okay.
He's this colored guy. He's takes no prisoners. I've got his number.
All right.
I got his number from Gayton's team.
Okay.
Because I had to say to him, you are incredible.
Wow.
Go and check him out.
Okay, cool.
Liam Jacobs, I think. Wow.
All right.
So
there are some
ANC's
young guys
getting
who are exciting you. You're
very
like, cool,
black,
these
coloured,
people we can
white,
support.
Chris Pappas, this guy Liam,
Okay.
Nicholas Niati.
Yeah.
There's some phenomenal young people.
Come on.
But we need to accelerate their development.
Yeah.
Get rid of the Madalas, myself included, the older guys. Gwede Mantashe, why is he still in government? He's incompetent, stupid, and useless. Why is he still there? Why is he still there?
It must be for power and money.
Of course. But the respect for the elder,
Yeah.
I get it. That's a conservative trait. But how can you respect...
And it's tribal.
And it's tribal, which
Yeah.
I think is a very weak culture. It's not a good culture.
Okay.
So the respect for the elder is a bad thing when the elder is useless, incompetent,
not
evil,
doing
and
what
a
he's supposed to
kleptocrat,
be doing. Yeah.
then you should have no respect for the elder.
Yeah.
Get Greta out the way.
Something
and
that
bring these young people in.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're there, tons of them in their spades. So 2029, Prince Mashele says the ANC is going to be irrelevant.
What does he base that on?
He says because
Trends.
their trajectory is absolutely through the floor. He said the voters are waking up, the gogos are realizing, on the one hand, that the ANC is incompetent, destructive, evil, not doing the job. It's not the Liberation Army anymore. It's a bunch of destructive thieves.
Yeah,
that's where it is today.
We're hoping that's become clear.
But they've also, they have. But to step out of the ANC and not vote is where they are right now. But to step out of the ANC and vote for the DA has been a big barrier. Because the ANC propaganda has said the DA is a white party, all that nonsense. Doesn't help the poor, nonsense. So 22% of the vote, you've got a lot of black, Indian and coloured voters. But what has happened relatively recently is voters have realized that the DA is not going to remove their social grant. The DA is going to create economic growth, so you won't have to have a social grant. You'll have a job and dignity. The DA is not going to revert to apartheid and Baskap. They've realized that. So there's now a period where they're kind of leaving the ANC and now might potentially get behind the DA. They will for the municipal elections because they're sick of no service delivery, and they know the one thing the DA is good at is service delivery.
All right. So you support the DA in general?
I support the DA, I support Corné Mulder, and I support Gayton. Those are my three parties. So it's DA, Freedom Front Plus, Patriotic Alliance. That needs to be...
Because they actually seem to be making a difference, a positive difference.
Listen, I hate the fact that DA and the Patriotic Alliance are at each other's throats the whole time. That's ridiculous. I wish they'd grow up and engage with each other. Because if you look at their manifestos, 7 out of 10 of the main things are identical. Free market, free speech, rule of law,
which are the things you stand for?
All those. I stand for the Judeo-Christian values.
Why? Why do you stand for that?
If you look at the civilized world, if you look at the happiness index of where people wish they had been born, okay? And the happiness index is a formal index. You can look at it on the internet. And the happiness index, the top 20 countries are all Judeo-Christian, mainly part of the Anglosphere, so English-speaking, and mostly smaller countries with a single religion and culture. So you get Sweden and Denmark and Norway and New Zealand and Switzerland and the Netherlands. And then you get slightly bigger countries, like Australia. It's all a sort of Judeo-Christian Western, broadly defined.
It started
countries.
from that value system.
And what happened was, there's a book, one of the most important books I've ever read, Freedom, How We Invented It and Why It's So Important. Read that book. I think it's out of print in South Africa at the moment. Freedom. Read that book. And read another book by Konstantin Kisin of Trigonometry, the podcast I was on recently. An Immigrant's Love Letter to the West.
I've heard of that book. I haven't read it.
Read those two books. If the world had been conquered by the French and the Spanish, the Catholic countries, we would have elites in charge. We wouldn't have proper democracy. We'd have some form of democracy, but the elites would rule. Obviously, if we'd been ruled by the Russians or the Nazis, we'd have some horrific fascist or communism is worse than fascism, but fascism is pretty damn bad. National Socialism, but communism is way worse. The fact that the British, in the Magna Carta, began democracy, and that was amplified by the American Constitution, means the world, part of the world, takes for granted democracy, capitalism, and freedom. And that is entirely the Anglosphere, the English-speaking world, created democracy, created capitalism, and exported it.
And it worked. And
you can throw the Dutch in too, and then because they were, the Dutch were pretty, the maritime countries.
VOC,
the Huguenots. But if you bring the Anglosphere together, you realize the Anglosphere developed capitalism, free markets, democracy, and everything that we hold dear. And it was the Judeo-Christian religions and culture
behind it.
That is the base of it all. No,
Yeah.
the base of it all, the absolute fundamental foundation.
Yeah. If you think, education, if you think hospitals,
everything's better.
Everything's based from that value system.
And if you look at where people are leaving and where they're going to, they're leaving all the communist, authoritarian, Muslim, theocratic, evil countries that don't allow freedom, and they're going to the free countries, which are the ones I mentioned.
But now,
and it's Judeo-Christian religion and culture is the basis of that.
Absolutely. But now the crazy thing that we're seeing is those people who left those nations coming to the free nations with basic Christian-Judeo values are now attacking
and trying
those
to institute Sharia law.
Yeah, where are they going? Like, what is that about?
Judeo-Christian countries need to say no. You can't wear a burqa. You can't impose Sharia law.
But it's already happening.
Well, it can be stopped.
Crazy.
It can be stopped.
I mean, you see these riots happening in LA. They're trying to get rid of immigrants, and they're now rising up against ICE. It's crazy.
That's the Democrats.
The Democrats are wild.
Good for Donald Trump.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time.
So, religion, Judeo-Christian religions, broadly, are the basis of civilization, freedom, democracy, and Christianity.
So you see the value in that
100%.
From those faiths?
100%. The Ten Commandments, the Bible, the Torah, extraordinary what that has done for, the Jews have survived 3,000 years.
That's amazing.
They've got to be doing something right.
Yeah. Rob, talking about faith, what is your personal faith conviction or stance? How did you grow up? What do you believe today?
So everyone thinks I'm Jewish. I'm not.
Okay.
So on my father's side, we have Jewish heritage. On my mother's
side. Is that
side,
because Hersov is a Jewish name?
The family 5 generations ago came from, Germany, Bulgaria, Lithuania, Russia, and escaped all the troubles there via Lithuania, via England to South Africa in about 1890s. My mum's side of the family, British, Scottish, came, I think, Sir Sidney Ralph Herbert came after the Indian Rebellion to retire in South Africa. Okay. And a lot of the English side of our family, Herbert is the main name. Okay. The Herberts came to KZN, to Durban, to Natal, were based in Eshowe, most of them. And that's my mum's side of the family. Okay. But I was brought up, interestingly, by my grandmother and my mother as a Christian Scientist. And most people think that's Scientology. That's the kind of weirdos. It's not. Christian Science was developed in Boston, America, by a lady called Mary Baker Eddy, who said the scriptures are too out of date. Okay. You need to modernize it. All right. That's why it's called Christian Science. Huh. And at one point, it was the wealthiest religion in the world. It's faded somewhat. But if you go to any city, there's a Christian Science reading room. And what does it say on the arch as you walk in? God is love. God is love. And if you ask anyone of any religion what the basis of their religion is, they say God is love. But between there and the manifestation of religion, things happen. There's confusion, there's weird stuff. So on faith, I'm not an atheist, I'm not an agnostic, but I haven't yet found my faith. Okay. My heart is open, my mind is open, my soul is open, and I'm waiting for my calling.
You're waiting for your calling.
And I'm open.
You seem to be very busy and active for someone who doesn't know what his calling is exactly.
Well, maybe I should calm down a bit. It'll come to me. But I'm huge respect for the Judeo-Christian culture and religions. I went to Michael House Anglican school. All right. I love the hymns. Okay. I still sing them. I know all the words. Okay. And I have huge respect for prayer, grace at meals. I love grace at meals. I loved our prayer before this started. And the tenets of religion have, extraordinary meaning and force. Yeah.
You see the value of it.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm not entirely convinced there is a God. I think God is within me and within you, and God is love. Okay. If you believe that, then we are all godlike, and we all know right from wrong.
How would you define love?
Love is a many splendid thing. It is compassion, it is kindness, it is lack of self, it is putting other people first, it is giving, not taking. It is many, many, many elements. It's not just I'm in love. It's a broad concept of goodness, and it's also believing in the next generation. I love the idea of planting a tree when you know you're never going to see the tree grown. That's an element of it.
Yeah.
So all of those elements come into being. God is love. God is all of that. You do know right from wrong. I read and practice Stoicism.
Okay.
And that's my way of life at the moment.
Okay.
But a lot of Stoicism is in the Ten Commandments anyway,
Interestingly.
It's just the God bit. I
Yeah.
believe God is within us and God is love.
Okay.
So I think we're on the same page.
I think there are definitely touch points. So with that in mind, what drives you? I mean, I know how you now said how it started for you to fight the fight you're fighting.
Yeah.
But what keeps you going? When you wake up in the morning, yes, you've got
one
work.
thing.
Yeah.
Every day, every single day, when I'm at a NGen or a Pick and Pay or walking down the street, or I check my emails or check my WhatsApps, every day, 5 to 10 people or messages. I mean, I can get you my iPhone and show you what happened this morning. People saying, "Please, Rob, thank you for giving us a voice."
Wow.
Or they come up and say, "Thank you for what you're saying."
Sure.
Every single day.
Amazing.
And it's
for those people.
so tiring doing this. It's so,
I can imagine.
A lot of corporate South Africa won't take my calls, turn their backs on me.
Wow.
Paul Harris turned his back on me at the cricket.
Yeah.
Anton Pillay avoids me, and he was a friend of mine, Coronation.
Sure.
Johan Rupert doesn't talk to me. He was my oldest friend.
Wow.
Why?
That's hard.
Because I'm too political.
You're toxic in a way.
Yeah. Because I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
I'm too scared to.
What did it feel like to you, if I can go there, to see Rupert standing in the Oval Office with Ramaphosa? What did that scene?
I wish he hadn't been there. For two reasons. I think he made a mistake.
Okay.
Firstly, he said, "I sleep with my door open." I mean, it was so out of touch for the average South African who is in fear of their lives. I think he didn't mean what he said, but it came out wrong.
Yeah.
But secondly, was he there to defend the ANC? Was he there to defend Cyril Ramaphosa?
I don't know. It seems like he was there.
It
seems like I heard Trump asked him to bring him and the golfers.
Well, I heard,
but I don't know.
No, I don't think he asked Johan. I think he asked
not
the golfers to
specifically.
be there.
Okay.
And Retief Goosen in particular was excellent.
Yeah, he spoke
and
well.
Ernie was good too. He
said,
said,
they spoke well.
I don't think Johan should have been there. I think he went there with the best intentions.
But it
in
may
the
not
end,
have come across.
It looked like him defending Cyril and the ANC.
Yeah.
And the ANC has destroyed this country, fundamentally.
Yeah.
They're a fact of life. They're still in government. They're the leading partner in the coalition of the GNU. But they are a kleptocratic, ineptocratic, destructive, evil organization. And Cyril was deputy president under Zuma, was in the original cadre commission that deployed these cadres or cadres that have destroyed all our state-owned enterprises, all our sewage works, all our electricity. Cyril is directly responsible for this. Let's not, just because he's charming and he and Johan trade buffaloes or whatever they do, does not mean we should be defending him.
Yeah.
And I think it deflected a lot of what America was going to smack the ANC, EFF, and MK with. And I think that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think, frankly, he shouldn't have been there.
Okay.
And Adrian Gore was there too. He just didn't make it into the meeting because the golfers got the nod and he didn't.
Okay.
So what are Adrian and Johan doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
What do you think that whole Oval Office meeting, what was the end result of that? What do you think it was supposed to be? What did it end up being?
South Africa wanted the meeting.
Okay.
They wanted to try and tell Donald, you've got it wrong. There's no genocide. We're all safe in South Africa. It's a sovereign nation. Things are going okay. None of which is true.
Yeah.
None of which is true.
Do you think it is a genocide that's happening?
There's no extermination.
I guess
There's
it depends.
There's no farm invasions.
I guess it depends on your definition of genocide.
Correct.
Yeah.
There are 10 elements that make up the United Nations definition of genocide.
Okay.
Starting with classification, symbolization, organization, persecution, extermination, denial. If you look at the 10 factors, I only gave you 6 or 7. 6 or 7 of them are in place today in South Africa. So we don't have extermination. We don't. We don't have mass land invasions yet.
That's the thing.
But we have expropriation without compensation, signed into law by Cyril Ramaphosa. We have BEE being rapidly expanded. We have racial classification. You apply for university, what race are you? You apply for a job, what race are you? We have BEs going from BE, where it is today, to the Equity Employment Amendment Act. Any company of 50 employees or more has to have a racial profile, same with the country.
Wow.
They're telling us who we can hire, who we can't fire. I mean, sorry, why would anyone invest in this country from overseas? Why would they?
Yeah. So you obviously, I'm assuming you're for meritocracy, not for this kind of race-based law.
So I was on the DJ Spoo show where he brought as a surprise guest Penwell. And they were saying, when you go overseas to speak to these international podcasters, you need to say there's no genocide. And I said, well, I'll do that, knowing that I would explain the elements of genocide, and I would say there's no extermination. Okay, there isn't. But I'll do it, and this is on air, if you guys denounce Julius Malema and his kill the Boer speech. That was my condition.
That's good.
They wouldn't shake my hand.
Wow.
I said, shake my hand. You denounce Julius in the EFF. I'm going to do it and kill the Boer. And then I'll go and absolutely say there's no genocide. They didn't shake my hand.
Wow.
They're too scared. And this is a problem still.
Fear.
Boldness is contagious. More and more, I'm talking about black podcasters and black public speakers. Prince Mashele, Pumlani Majosi, Concerned Citizen, Sama. Unbelievable. Standing up, telling it like it is. But Penwell, too scared.
Yeah.
DJ Spoo, too scared.
Sure.
You know, we need the big guys to man up, grow some spine, and tell the truth. How hard is it?
Yeah. It is hard.
Kill the Boer is hate speech.
It has to be.
And just the fact is that our judiciary is captured. That decision is entirely because the ANC has captured 60 to 70% of the judiciary. And no one's speaking about it. This needs to be a topic everyone speaks about. Our judiciary is captured.
Yeah, and that is a big problem for a so-called democracy, because once that goes, you know.
So I reckon 60 to 70%. I asked a friend of mine, I mentioned his name, Mark Oppenheimer, super smart guy, lawyer. He actually was the guy on behalf of AfriForum on the hate speech thing.
Okay.
And he knows this inside out. And I said to him, what percentage of the judges are compromised? He said, well, it does depend on the province.
Okay.
But he said it's not just compromised and captured, it's actually incompetent.
Wow.
And he said, if you look at Gauteng High Court, he said, I'd say 70% are captured, compromised, or incompetent. I know.
Hopefully not all three.
Western Cape, less
That's
so.
rough.
And there's a judge, Judge Goliath, female in the Western Cape, completely compromised.
Yeah.
That's someone. She's absolutely ANC stooge. And
Hectic.
they're all over the place.
Yeah.
So when you look at this institutions of democracy, we've got the state-owned enterprises captured. We know that. Although Eskom's being turned around by two excellent executives.
Thank God for that.
Teto Nyati and Dan Marikane.
Okay.
Unbelievable. They've got the operational side sorted. The balance sheet's a disaster.
Yeah.
You know, there are some very good people around. Just get them into positions of power, please. And then you have the institutions of democracy, mostly captured. Treasury still not. Finances, ANC. And then you've got judiciary. And media and judiciary are the last two elements of a free and functioning democracy to collapse. And media, if you get an autocrat, can just turn it off overnight. You're out of business, bang, gone.
No.
Although the News 24, in my view, is already an ANC bootlicker.
It does
Desubscribe.
seem that way.
Cancel
that
subscription
way.
to News 24. They are ANC.
Yeah.
ANC light.
Yeah.
And then judiciary. When Erdogan, the president of Turkey, got into power, he had such support, he was able to change the constitution. He had over 60 or 66%. He changed the constitution, and the first thing he did, replaced 6,000 judges overnight. So he just took over the judiciary. So every decision would go his way.
My
In
goodness.
South Africa, they've had to do it judge by judge, but they've managed to do it to, I think, 60 to 70% of the judges in this country are ANC stooges.
Back the courts.
ANC stooges.
Back the courts. Yeah. That's very scary.
You want to know where I am on South Africa today? I'm 3 out of 10. I'm negative. But I was, I was in 1989.
Yeah.
I'm
3 out of 10 in terms of hopefulness for where we're going.
But although, the Cape is 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Gauteng's 2 out of 10. Mpumalanga 1 out of 10. So the blend is...
Talking about the Cape, what do you think about Cape independence?
So I've supported it.
Okay. That would be quite crazy.
Look,
imagine
it's not impossible. It's improbable.
Yeah.
Until the DA and the PA get behind it like Corné Mulder has, it isn't going to happen.
Yeah. It will be quite a small nation, but it'll be a powerful one.
It'll be
I mean, in theory, I listened to the guys who started it, to their whole reason behind it, and it actually made a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
If you look at the GDP of the Western Cape and how it carries the nation.
But you'd want the Northern Cape too, and you'd want Graaff-Reinet, you want some of the Eastern Cape and the Karoo towns as well.
Okay.
So it wouldn't necessarily just be the Western Cape. And, there's some issues that would be very difficult to handle. Who gets the Navy, who gets something.
Yeah. I wonder, what the country would be called.
And we'd have to build a wall. Because you'd have the whole of Africa
trying to come in here. Yeah, it'll be hectic.
You think we've got semigration and economic migrants?
Already happening, yeah.
You'd have times 100.
There's not enough schools at the moment. There's
not enough anything. There's congestion.
It's rough.
I mean,
the Cape is overwhelmed.
Listen, Jordan Hill-Lewis and Alan Winde, excellent job they're doing. I know
under the circumstances.
I know Gayton says, they do nothing for the poor. That's nonsense. That's just his political scaremongering. Sorry, Gayton, I got to call you out on that one. The DA do an excellent job.
Yeah.
Chapeau to them.
Okay. What we mentioned earlier, you spoke about grants, and I personally think one of the worst things we could do in our nation is to have only handouts and not proper hand-ups for people. Would you say the same thing?
100% agree.
We need to help people to not just
Cyril Ramaphosa
receive stuff.
Proudly said, we've got 25 million people on social grant. It should be the most embarrassing thing any human can say.
Exactly.
But remember, he's a socialist.
Yeah. That's about what can I get from the government rather than...
No, they want people poor, uneducated, unemployed, and dependent. Then they vote for them.
Sure.
It's malevolent and evil. It's the Soviet playbook.
Yeah.
Chase us economic producers out of the country.
Yeah.
Take mines, lands, banks.
And privatize, take all privatization, nationalize all businesses, all the big ones.
I mean, it's the Soviet playbook. And they're trying to hurry it up because the ANC will disappear in 2029. Look, Prince Mashele views is that 2029, ANC will be irrelevant. In the municipals, they're going to get shredded. Yeah. Shredded. Helen Zille potentially as mayor of Joburg. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Hope she does it. She's a rock star. Yeah. She's a lioness.
Okay.
We should thank her every day of the week.
All right.
But when it comes to the ANC, I think, this is where I differ a little bit with Prince Mashele, I think within, let's say the ANC is 40%. I know the polls are saying 30, but let's say they're still at 40. I think 15 of the 40 are Judeo-Christian, pro-West, pro-America, free market, capitalist, BEE recipient types, business people. And if you take that 15%, a reinvigorated DA at 25, the PA at 10, Corné Mulder at 5, IFP at 5, that's the coalition of the future.
Wow.
So it's get rid of the ANC must get rid of the Communist Party, the unions, and other idiots that, the Al Jazeera type, Islamic monsters. Strip the ANC down to 15% of the voting population. We're actually decent centrist people. They do exist. I won't call them good. I'm with a heart to do that. I hate the ANC so much, I can't call them good. But you take 15% plus all those pieces, you've got 55, 60%. That is the centrist core, and that will fix South Africa. We've got to make it to 2029.
Yeah. What do you think of the current GNU setup? Is it working? Is it not working?
If you take its top 5 priorities, number 1, keep MK and EFF out. Number 2, keep MK and EFF out. Number 3, keep EMK. Number 4, economic growth. Number 5, security, safety, stability, and service delivery. They're not even on number 2.
Yeah.
They're going sideways. They're still trying to implement NHI, which will bankrupt the country. They're still refusing to privatize state-owned enterprises, which is bankrupting the country. They still have way too many people in civil service earning way too much who are doing nothing.
We actually have too many civil servants.
It's ridiculous.
Our government's too big. It's unnecessarily big.
32 cabinet ministers. How do you have 32 people sitting around a table even discussing anything or making decisions? And each has one or two deputy ministers.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
And probably big salaries.
Well, Gayton doesn't take a salary.
Interesting.
Do you know that? He's not taking a salary.
Oh, well done.
Well done him. But I mean, they all have blue light brigades or security details.
All costs money.
Business class.
Yeah.
They're all off to jamborees all over the world.
Sure.
Waste.
Unnecessary.
And then we have 20 whatever million people on social grants. It's wrecked.
I spoke to...
No one's fixing it.
Yeah.
No one's fixing it. There's not a single hand going up the DA tried to, but there's not a hand going up saying, from the ANC, this doesn't work, let's try another direction.
Doesn't seem that way.
No.
I spoke to someone recently on this podcast and they said, it seems like the ANC forgot that they lost the election.
Well, it feels like
They're still running the show.
Well, Enoch Gonagwana, his first budget thing, he didn't even talk to his other members. He just arrogantly announced this is it and got smacked back to touch.
Yeah.
Then he's come back.
It's almost like they forgot, there's a GNU now.
Yeah. No, they're arrogant.
Oh, goodness.
Stupid and arrogant.
Wow.
The ANC.
So back to the grant thing. What do you think is a more healthy way to uplift our nation?
Give them jobs.
Well, how do you give them jobs?
Well, I mean, you privatize state-owned enterprises. You deregulate the economy. You make it an attractive place for foreign direct investment.
What's the first state-owned entity you would privatize that you think will create the most jobs?
Has been privatized by default, by going bust.
Yeah.
Fly Safair, Airlink and Seme are doing a fantastic job.
They are.
Just sell off the rest of ANC. Sorry. I'd love to sell the ANC. Sell off South African Airways.
Yeah.
The rest of it. Don't bother. Just close it down.
Okay.
Give the routes to the highest bidders.
Okay.
So that's privatized by default.
All right.
But it's definitely Transnet and Eskom.
I agree.
And Eskom is
Transnet's a big one.
Eskom's partially privatized because you've got tons of people with solar and wind. You've got, these independent power producers, IEPs. The grid is being partly, it's happening.
Yeah.
Firstly, Dan and Mteto are doing a very good job fixing Eskom, but it's partially privatized anyway.
Yeah.
Transnet is the big one.
I agree. I think there's so many...
And the ports.
Yes.
And the ports. Durban's the worst ranked port in the world. Well done, ANC.
Whoa.
Well, the ANC know how to break and steal. That's it.
Yo, that's rough. I have a question about you and statistics, but just on the Transnet thing, I totally agree. We used to have a great railway system, and I think one practical thing, on top of the jobs I think it can create, we'll just get so many more trucks off the roads. It's destroying the roads.
But here's the problem.
Sure.
Think of the incentive to break and steal. If you break a turbine in Eskom by putting faulty coal in, who benefits? The guy importing diesel. So it's in that person's interest to have faulty coal break the turbine.
Do you think that's how insidious this is?
Yeah. If you break the railway,
that's rough.
Who benefits? The lorry drivers, the taxi drivers. So there's an incentive to break the railway.
That sounds like syndicates running the show.
It is. Mafia's everywhere.
Wow.
There's a construction mafia. That's been well documented.
That I've heard
from
mafia. The late Graham Power.
There's a copper mafia. There's a diesel mafia.
Okay.
The ANC is mafia.
You think they're, as Afrikaans say, kop in een mis with all these mafia people? That's scary. So that's why people don't want to stand up, is because they will get taken out. I had a scary conversation with young black business people from a church in Joburg about 2 years ago. And they told me some very, very real scary stuff about people they know who stood up and just got taken out. That were trying to make a positive difference, taken out. Like dead taken out. I was like, what? It sounds like the most crazy conspiracy theory, but they know these people and they know exactly what's going on. And they are afraid to do something.
But just read the Zondo Commission.
It's scary.
Zondo Commission.
What's
4
happening?
years, R1 billion.
Yeah.
Thousands of witnesses and affidavits. 2,438 people mentioned. Not one Not one. No accountability.
Not one arrest. Yeah.
Here's Cyril's
what is that?
strategy. Cyril's strategy is, this is a terrible thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Let's form a committee,
Yeah.
a commission to look at it. And then he walks away. It's like done and formed a commission. And it's usually, lawyers, politicians,
And it
economists,
costs a lot of money. My
leftists.
goodness.
It's not hard people like me and you, business people,
backs
who'll
it.
say, this is the problem, let's fix it.
Yeah.
27 people in a commission, a committee, let them, and then he doesn't even read the report. Cyril is useless.
You would think, from what I understand, he's a businessman.
He's not a businessman. He was given businesses on a plate.
Oh, okay.
The guy is a leftist, socialist, trade union leader who knows how to read COVID reports.
Do you think he's a puppet?
He's a useless human being, spineless and useless. He's, although, be careful what you wish for. Get rid of Cyril, who comes next?
Yeah. I guess that's
imagine Paul Mashatile, Fikile Mbalula. They're way worse.
I've heard you speak on this whole our issue that. Part of the reason that we have issues with America is because we stand against Israel, as the government
Not just
does.
that.
But it's one of the main things.
Not just that.
Okay.
South Africa's is one of the top 10 countries in the world to vote consistently against America on United Nations resolutions. It's not just Israel. It's everything.
Yeah. But that's one of the big contentions at the moment. What is your personal position about Israel and our relationship with them?
So Israel's one of America's strongest allies. You attack Israel, you're attacking America.
Yeah.
Okay? Simple as that. Here's the weirdest issue, okay? During apartheid, South Africa were allies with the other pariah nations, Taiwan and Israel. Okay? We shared training and arms and military and blah, blah, blah. Just 3 pariah nations.
Pariah nations.
Pariah.
What does that mean? Sorry, I don't know.
Pariah. Pariah is unwanted, unloved.
Okay. All right. No, thank you. You're teaching me something.
Yeah. But in South Africa, some of the main fighters against apartheid were Jewish.
Yeah.
Were Jews. In fact, there were 2 terrible Jews, Castrals, and they were communists. What was his name? I've forgotten the other name. Ronnie Castrals and the other one were Jewish, and they were like communist.
Okay.
They were really nasty and evil and forged part of the communist ideology of the ANC.
All right.
Turok. Is that it? Yeah, anyway, I think that's the name. But, Helen Suzman, Jewish. Harry Oppenheimer of Jewish heritage, fought actively against apartheid.
Okay.
And the Jews have got no credit, no love from the ANC as a result.
Huh. Interesting.
In fact, the ANC has introduced anti-Semitic behavior.
Yeah.
DIRCO is basically controlled by ANC Islamists. Okay, the whole foreign policy side of the South Africa is controlled by Islamists, ANC Islamists. Ibrahim Rasool is a good example. Naledi Pandor, she's a Muslim.
Sure.
And the whole of DIRCO. Helen Ziller said a funny thing to me. She said when they were arguing about who gets which ministry, the one ministry the ANC wouldn't let the DA go close to was DIRCO. Because Iran, funding the ANC, wanted control of DIRCO to attack America and attack Israel.
Do you believe the theory that Iran's behind
100%.
paying us to
100%.
take
100%.
Israel to the
100%. There are tons of
international
reports.
courts?
Look, the money, Naledi Pandor was responsible for that.
Yeah,
She
sure.
was entirely responsible, and the Americans know it. And MTN structures were used to bring the money in.
What?
And you know who was chairman of NTN at the time? Cyril Ramaphosa.
Wow.
So he's complicit.
Sure. That's scary.
Well, it's the Soviet playbook. So, where we are in the world today is Russia, is very, very weak. They couldn't even beat Ukraine in war, okay? That's how
They're
weak
trying.
they are. That's how weak they are. China is going into deflation, and their economy is it's nosediving. China is very weak.
Okay.
And they're very weak technologically because they've just been stealing everything from America, and the Americans have beginning to stop that. Environmentally, they're a disaster. The Belt and Road strategy is being halted. America's taken control again of the Panama Canal. So China's getting weaker, Russia's weak, and Iran is being defanged.
Okay.
Who the ANC got to run to?
Yeah.
They're running out of allies.
Sure.
So
All right. So
That's good.
what do you think is going to happen on the playing field, international geopolitics? Is America just gonna keep their position and grow?
America's getting stronger and stronger.
They are. It seems like
is
it
by
seems
far
like
the strongest country in the world, militarily, technologically, culturally, everything, and it's getting stronger
because of Trump. You think?
Because of AI.
AI. All right, they're using it well.
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
Look,
right.
America's by far the biggest consumer market in the world. You know, inflation's down, income's up, employment's up. All in the last 2 weeks. The results are off the charts. Now, you can't credit it all to Trump, but
It's partly. Yeah.
it's partly. And there's huge confidence in that country.
Yeah.
You know, they've reined in the mad leftist woke DEI nonsense.
Yeah.
They've closed the door on immigration. Wall is up.
They've stopped the
wall is up.
fentanyl
And
thing.
now they're stopping the fentanyl. And everybody's been ripping America off. Donald Trump's 100% right.
No.
Everybody. Europe has been ripping America off using the military defense blanket. Now they're going to pay for it themselves. Forget about 2% of GDP. They're going to 3%.
What did you think of J.D. Vance's speech at the
Brilliant.
Brilliant. That German, what was it, the International Security Conference?
Brilliant.
That was amazing.
No, those Europeans
that was
are
powerful.
lazy, socialist, overregulated,
It does seem that way.
allowed dangerous migrants to pour through the borders. I mean, Europe's pathetic.
And you lived in the UK for a long time.
Oh my goodness.
What's happening there? Like
That's
they
a mess.
are locking up people for writing anything anti-Islamic.
We have more free speech
What's
in South
going
Africa.
on? Like they're locking them up for social media.
For hate speech.
Hate speech.
Whatever that means. No,
That's scary.
UK's
Did you
lost
see
the plot.
that guy who's really I forget his name now. Activist. He's fighting for pretty much the same
Tommy
thing.
Robinson.
Yes.
He got released.
He got just released now.
He's become a Zionist.
Okay.
Do you see that?
No, but makes sense in a way because
Makes
it's
sense
same value system in a way.
Correct.
But it's you would never have expected. You're like the UK, bastion of free speech and human rights. They are there. They are there.
They need a Geert Wilders.
They are. They are.
Or a Nigel Farage.
They seem to be going Islamic, which is crazy. Like, what is that about?
Look, there's nothing wrong with Islam and the Muslim religion. The problem is there are way too many fanatics.
The extreme side
And
of it is
extremists.
very dangerous.
So I saw a report, take it for what it's worth. I can't find that report anymore, but that said only 10% of Muslims are radicals. There are 1.4 billion in this world. That's 140 million.
That's a lot of people that are
and
extremists.
destroy our
Yeah.
culture.
I mean, I spoke to recently. I spoke to a young Israeli lady who survived the Nova Festival attack on October 7th, and I spoke to a Israeli Druze young lady who's an Arab, and they both told me the biggest challenge they sit with is that the children from whenever they can start learning and reading, they are taught in Gaza to hate the Jewish people.
It's sick.
It's part of the education system. They teach them to
Empathy
hate.
for Palestine.
Yeah.
They voted in Hamas.
Yeah.
Hamas got given billions of dollars. What did they do?
Built tunnels.
They built tunnels underneath hospitals,
Didn't feed their
children's
people.
hospitals.
It's rough.
They are an evil terrorist organization.
That's horrible
And I
what
have
they're doing.
very little empathy for Palestine and the Palestinians. Like most Muslims, most Muslim countries don't want the Palestinians.
Which is very interesting because they, on the one hand, they seem to support one another. On the other hand, practically they don't. Egypt doesn't want to have Palestinians.
Jordan doesn't want the
They
Palestinians.
are blocking them off.
No,
So
Saudi doesn't want them.
everyone's hating on Israel, but hello.
Nobody wants the Palestinians.
It's rough.
Don't
It's a
bring them
very
here.
interesting situation. Yes. But I mean, you get all these people in our country who are pro-Palestine, but I don't think they know what they're saying.
They don't know what they're saying.
The funniest thing for me is like queers for Palestine, strippers for
They get
Palestine.
thrown off a cliff.
This is crazy. Like, do you
Let's
even
not get
know
onto
what
the
you?
subject?
Yeah.
It's
It's
look.
just insane. But it's part of the woke
We should every day
mindset.
thank America that we're not speaking German. No, you know what I mean.
I hear you.
And we should thank Israel every day because they are the front line for Judeo-Christian civilization.
Yeah.
Every day we should thank Israel.
Yeah, that's the
End of
one
story.
thing I saw, like firsthand. I heard from this Arab lady. She said, "It's the only Middle Eastern country where I have equal opportunity and free speech."
The vast majority of Arabs, of Muslims, know it, believe in it, and support it, and are good people. I have a friend in Dubai, very, very, very powerful in government. And, we were having an evening where we were eating and drinking and being very open. And he said, Rob, we have a beautiful religion, Islam, that has been captured by terrorists.
Sure.
His religion has been captured by terrorists.
Yeah.
And I felt so sad for him because, go back to the 1970s and 80s, as recent as that, and Islam was a religion of peace, of science, of learning, of wisdom, of compassion. Look at it today. It's been captured by evil people.
Well, I recently saw just pictures of a country like Iran in the 70s before they got taken over by the Ayatollahs, right? Was it? No? Sorry, who's in charge there? Ayatollahs. They looked like a thriving modern civilization. Like it was
in the 70s.
People are beautifully dressed and they
very modern,
just
very
amazing,
secular.
And it was just shut down.
Do you know the Shah of Iran lived in South Africa during the Second World War?
Huh? No.
Reza Pahlavi.
Interesting.
Yeah, came here.
Yeah, listen, the world history and all these things.
So Heinz, I've got an announcement.
Okay.
I'm winding down my political activism.
Really?
Yeah. I was thinking of cancelling.
But you just started.
I was thinking of cancelling this morning.
Oh, wow.
Because it makes me angry.
Mm.
There's a beautiful expression. The more you stare into the abyss, the more the abyss stares into you.
Wow.
And it affects me.
Okay.
I'm reading these political reports. Every day there's more and more ANC stealing and thieving and corruption, and it just wears you down.
Wow.
You can't not take it into your heart. And it's wearing me down.
It's affecting you as a person.
Me, yeah. And I think my job is done because more and more extraordinary people, you and others, are standing up and telling it like it is and are being bold. And it is infectious.
No.
Boldness is infectious. You've got it right. And I applaud those people that are standing up. I'm still very upset about the South African corporate community for not standing up. They need to do it. That still needs to happen.
Yes.
But for civil rights, civic associations, AfriForum, Sakaliga, Institute of Race Relations, Free Market Foundation, incredible, Helen Suzman Foundation, some elements of the media, individuals, podcasters are standing up and telling it like it is. There's momentum now from all races and cultures and creeds. People are saying the right thing, being brave, being bold.
Yeah.
And I think my job, getting that momentum going, is reaching an end.
Are you saying this might be your last podcast?
This will be one of my last. And I've given my word to my wife. And I know people have heard it before.
Yeah.
I did resign and then came roaring back 4 months later.
Okay.
I'd like to still talk about international subjects and talk about good things, technical developments that are changing the world for the good. I'm so excited about things in AI and small modular nuclear reactors, in supersonic planes, in taxi drones. All these technology developments inspire me. Most coming out of America. And I want to talk about good stuff that's happening. And I'm just worn down by South Africa. I'm negative about South Africa.
Sure.
Yes, have I thought of leaving? All the time. But I don't want to.
Yeah.
I love it here.
That's awesome.
But I think my fight, is going to be on another battlefield.
Well, I think that's, in a way, sometimes it's better to stand for something than against something,
Well said.
Yeah.
I like that.
If you're making a positive difference, if you create more jobs and if you do the things that you want to see happening, I mean, that's the best thing you can do.
It's so easy to fix.
Yeah.
I'll give you the 10 points.
I was just going to ask you, please tell us what changes.
In Sweden in 1992, Sweden had 100% income tax on rich people. They were leaving the country in droves.
Wow.
It was massively overregulated. The currency was blocked. It had state-owned enterprises in almost every sector, including beer.
Wow.
The beer company was owned by the state.
Huh.
And that government sat around the table, they looked at each other and said, this isn't working. Let's go the other direction.
Wow.
And that courage to say, let's try, they freed their currency. They sold off all the state-owned enterprises they could. They had a power company like Eskom. They were forced to do it, by the way. If they wanted to join the European Union, they had to privatize it. So some of it was
kind of forced
by policy, some was forced. And the country took off like a rocket.
Wow.
Took off like a rocket.
That's amazing.
And it's now one of the greatest tech centers in the world. People go there. They want to be educated there. They want to live there. They want to, be involved. It's an incredible success story. Why can't we do the same?
Yeah.
Imagine if Cyril on Monday, spineless Cyril, said, "It's not working. It's not working. Let's go the other way."
Yeah.
I mean, this country would fly.
What would you do if you were in that position? How would you change this around? What would the first few things be that you do?
It's very, very easy.
Okay.
I would do public-private partnership or privatize all the state-owned enterprises.
Okay.
Every single one, immediately.
All right.
I'd have a Doge team, Department of Government Efficiency. And I would have that Doge team responsible for reducing regulations by 50% in 1 year. Get rid of
unnecessary regulations.
I would de-racialize the country.
Get rid of
140
BEE.
mostly anti-white racist laws. I'd absolutely get rid of BEE. And I would hit the road internationally on foreign direct investment. I'd say, we're doing everything right. This country's going to take off like a rocket. We're going to grow at 5% a year. We're going to add 500 to 700,000 jobs a year. You need to invest now.
Yeah.
And the money will pour in from overseas. And even though the rail's broken, it's worse up country than here.
Yeah.
It is fixable with money. The ports, with proper management, people with half a brain can fix those ports.
Yeah.
We have products and services and people that are incredible and have productivity in this country second to none, and entrepreneurs second to none,
Yes.
and talent second to none.
Yeah, come on.
And of the 1 million people that have left, 150 to 200,000 will come back.
Yeah.
All of them with money, contacts, and experience, mostly young.
Exactly.
The country will fly.
There's no reason
it's
why.
It's so easy to do.
Yeah, come on.
And dump the socialist and racist ideology of the ANC.
We have so much potential. And we have so many young people,
And
I think, who are eager to...
Economic growth lifts all boats. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But
economic growth lifts all boats. That's a good one. I like that. Sure. So
Heinz, you might not see as much as me on YouTube anymore.
I'll miss you.
This may be one of the last ones.
Well, thank you for not canceling and being here. Thank you for your voice. Thank you for pioneering something really powerful. I know that the Truth Report is up and running. Is that going to keep going even if you...
Yes,
okay,
very much so. It's
Truth
going to be
Report
launched.
will keep going?
Look, there are a hell of a lot of young, new podcasters coming to the table that want to get involved. We're going to incubate them, inspire them, amplify their voice, aggregate their voice.
Cool.
And we'd love to have you involved. Come and do a show or two on the Truth
I'd
Report.
love to. Yeah, I've been speaking to Joe about it, kind of winking, nudging.
Good,
so
good.
I'd love to.
West.
Okay, great.
But to your viewers, thank you for your support. Thank you for your kindness and compassion, for your love, defined by us.
Yes.
And stand up and tell the truth. It's easier than you think.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be me anymore. Thank you, Heinz.
Thank you, Rob. I really appreciate you. God bless you.
Let's do a
and
prayer.
everything you do. Let's do a prayer. Lord, I thank you for this amazing man, for what he's been doing. I pray that you bless him, his marriage, his family, and his businesses. I pray for our country. Lord, I pray that you will bring a supernatural turnaround, that more people will stand up for what's true and right and will love well in everything that they do. We pray for the peace of South Africa and the flourishing of South Africa. In your name, amen. Amen. Thank you, Rob. God bless you.
God bless you.
Cheers.